Hi there, this is Pablo from Salto, and in this video I'm going to show you how to replicate Zendesk guide and help center customizations using Salto. So the use case here is that we created a brand new set of articles, sections, and segments in our Zendesk guide. And now we want to replicate these changes from sandbox to production, or vice versa. It could also be that you created these customizations directly in production and now you want to replicate them to the sandbox. But either way it works. And we'll see how we can do this completely automated with no manual work whatsoever. So I'm here in my help center and I'll show you what I've created. First, I've created a new user segment called DevOps Expert Segments, and it has a tag called DevOps. I also have a management permission for the users that can create this new set of articles. And that management permission also uses that segment that I just created. Finally, I have one sample article which uses that management permission. It also uses that segment and is on a new section that I called Everything About DevOps. And I also want to know that there is an attachment link to that article. So as you can see, to replicate this to another Zendesk instance, I would have to do a lot of manual work because I would have to create the management permission, the segment, the section, the attachment, and everything else manually. So let's see how we can do this with Salto with just a few clicks. So I'm here in my Salto environment and I'm going to create a deployment from production to sandbox, and I'm going to title this Replicate DevOps Articles. Now I'm going to click Compare and Deploy. So what I'm seeing now is a full comparison of my two Zendesk instances. Here I can see all my customizations, which include Zendesk support customizations as well as guide and help center. I can see here all the elements that would be new in the Zendesk sandbox. I can also see elements that exist in both instances but are different. In this case, I'm only interested in that article that I created and all the related components. So I'm going to go here to the type to filter, and I'm going to type in what is DevOps to see that article. And so below here we can find that article, and this plus sign means that it's a new change. It's going to be a new addition to our sandbox. So I'm going to click on it to see the details. The first thing you'll notice is that we're looking at a low-code view of the article. We can see all the properties and attributes of the article. Now, if I scroll up here, Salto is telling me that there are some required dependencies. It means that I cannot just replicate this article just like that. I actually need to include some related elements. So when I click here on Depends On, I can see everything that that article is linked to that needs to be replicated to my sandbox in order for me to replicate that article as well. So for example, we have the section that the article is under, the user segment, the management permission, the actual translation in English for the article, and also the attachment. So as you can see, Salto is great at highlighting everything that needs to be included for this article to be replicated. So because I want all of this, I'm going to click here on Depends On to select all the changes. And now I'm going to select the article itself as well. Now that I've selected everything, I've noticed that the number 2 showed up here on the Missing Dependencies tab. So I'm going to click on it and see that there are 2 missing dependencies. So for example, I need a translation for the section itself, and I also forgot to include the tag that is linked to that user segment. So again, Salto is really good at showing everything that needs to be included for this replication to succeed. So I'm going to select all these changes here, and now that I'm happy that everything is selected, I'm going to click on Preview Deployment. The deployment preview is just Salto calculating everything one more time just to make sure that nothing is missing. Once the preview has been calculated, I can see a final pass of what's going to be replicated. So I can see all the article translations, the attachments, the article themselves, and I can see that these will be added to my sandbox. So if I'm happy with that, I can go ahead and click the deploy button. Now we're using the Zendesk API to replicate this to my sandbox, and after a few seconds I can see that I have a successful deployment. Now let's go to my sandbox, and I can see here that that article, What is DevOps, is not here. I'm going to refresh the screen, and now I can see that it's there and it was created just a few minutes ago. If I click on it, I can see that it has the translation in English, it has the management permission, the user segment, the section, and it also includes the article attachment. So that's how easy it was to replicate changes using Salto.